I'm Andrea. I run SaaSy, and we help businesses buy, build, or integrate software. And we are doing this short interview series where we're focusing on digital transformation, but specifically for us, this means a business is using digital tools and technologies to streamline and improve its operations, create new products and services, or better meet the needs of its customers. In simplest terms, that means putting in and using the right software. And with me today, I have Vanessa. Can I get you to do an introduction to your good self?
Okay, I'm Vanessa Gardner. I'm a senior web delivery manager and I work for UK Research and Innovation.
What's one thing everyone should know about you but probably doesn't?
I think that's probably a massive Duran Duran fan. So yeah, just saw them for I think the 8th time last week. 8th time, and they were absolutely amazing. So, yeah.
What was
that shows how old I am as well.
What was the first? How long ago was the first one that you saw them? First time that you saw them?
I wasn't allowed to see them in 1984 because my mum refused to let me go or take me. I didn't see them until I think actually it would have been about 20 years ago. So 20 years into their career. And I saw them in Birmingham, and we saw them in Birmingham last week.
Nice.
So full circle.
Nice. Yeah. Were they as good as the first time? Better?
Way better. Yeah,
Amazing.
Way better. Yeah. So yeah, really good.
That's a nice fact. I actually did know that about you, but I don't know that everyone else would. So
Durani's rule.
What's your favorite app or tool, and why do you like it so much?
It probably varies depending on what I'm working on, but at the moment Asana is my favorite app. I use it every day at work. It's a planning tool that we brought in just over 3 years ago, I think, and it's just getting better and better. So I think the reason I use it so frequently is because of all the additional rich features that it has. But there are other tools that are also great that I use regularly. So it does just depend on what I'm working on at any particular time.
Asana, I know I'm getting distracted by the rain because it's so loud, but I like the sound of the rain behind me. Hopefully the audio filters it out. But Asana I found it very intuitive. I found a lot of the more modern tools nice and intuitive, which is great for uptake. And just my favorite is when you can go in and use it almost immediately. You can kind of work out what's going on the screen, and I found Asana quite good for that. Also, I'm biased, but do they still have the unicorn or narwhal celebration emojis when you complete a task?
They do.
Yeah.
And they caught me out with their April Fool when they introduced the new Asana blob, and I genuinely thought it was a new Asana animal. I was looking for it, but anyway. So yes, I think the increased satisfaction when you complete tasks and you get a unicorn it always goes down well with the team. So yeah.
Nice, I like it. I'm a sucker for unicorns. Mine would be black, kind of grungy unicorns, but there'd still be quite a lot of glitter and sequins in there, but you know. In the intro and in the little slide at the beginning of the video, we've explained what digital transformation means for us, for SaaSy, and for what I do and for what we do. What does it mean for you, plural?
So for me, digital transformation is about using a tool to help transform a way of working. It might be a process, or it might be an organisational collaboration opportunity. So for me, it ends with the tool, but it kind of starts on paper really, and thinking about what the purpose is of that tool. What are you looking for? What are the rich features? What are the requirements at its heart? And you know, a tool is only as good as the processes that you implement. So I'm a big fan of actually documenting, so going out, listening to team members or other teams. Indeed, if you're working, more collaboratively across a bigger group of people, it really all starts with that. So workshopping it, getting your sticky notes out, understanding how people are doing their work now, but actually then what that digital transformation can mean, and how that can improve both personal productivity and for the individual to get more out of what they're doing, but also for that organizational benefit. And that just is about people working smarter. Lots of people think tools are about admin and kind of companies documenting what they do. It is somewhat about that, but it's about, reporting against, providing KPIs where needed. But it's just really about working smarter and actually making sure that people are putting the effort into the right things, and that is the work. And I think Asana have kind of really nailed that. And again, I know there are other tools that do similar things. So I'm a real advocate of making sure that you source the right tool for the right job. And that can evolve as well over time. So, yeah.
I feel like we need to put a little disclaimer like the radio stations do, don't we? Asana, but other tools are available.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, because I've worked with other tools in other organizations, and they are really only as good as the processes that you have in place. And I see that every day with how people are working in my organization. If you don't document your processes or talk to each other and actually agree conventions, then things don't work effectively. And that's really the core of digital transformation, is understanding how people work and then translating that into, the digital tool that you're working with.
Before we get into a specific kind of project that you've been working on for a bit more meat around the bones and context and stuff, one thing to mention on the digital transformation, and also specifically that Asana did really well, is echoing what you were saying about what makes any tool work well. Yes, getting the buy-in and getting people documenting the processes and using it in the way it was intended to, however that is, but getting the buy-in and initially, and the getting over the what's in it for you. And I don't think that I'm very against using big terminology like digital transformation and change management. That doesn't mean anything to anyone, but Asana did it really well. I saved one of their slides because they nailed the buy-in, the change management bit of it so well in one of their very gentle kind of intro presentations that they did. And one slide just very quickly showed what that meant and how to approach that, because it's no supplier or tool's job to manage that for whoever takes it on board. They've got to do all of that, but it's just such a big thing, the adoption, and they do that very well, I think.
They do. I think it's just generally a misconception that, a tool can do all the work for you. And I think, you're heading towards failure as an organization, whatever size, however small. Even if I've run a small company of 9 people, you have to have processes in, whether it's a few people or hundreds or even thousands of it. It's even more important the more people you have. But at the core of it is understanding, what you're trying to get out of the tool, and not let the tool take you over. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I've seen so many that are just they're just dead easy to use, or they look really good, or they're super intuitive, and they can be perfect, and no one will use them if that bit at the beginning isn't done right. And it's not it's down to the tool or how it's built for that to happen, I suppose. Talk us through maybe one project or one example of something that's gone really well, and how it's gone well, and what the impact has been for you at the end of it. You again, plural, not just you.
Okay. So, well, organizationally, we had a massive project to basically launch a single website with 10 individual research council websites, all operating slightly differently, off of the same CMS. quite a clunky old CMS that was going to be unsupported. And organisationally, the decision was taken to migrate to a single website. They said it would be easy. It wasn't that easy. You're dealing with effectively 10 different sets of stakeholders. You have all the procurement issues involved with bringing in a new tool. So kind of setting that up, bringing together a new multifunctional team. So we had a new team basically coming together. And I came in probably after alpha, so beta stage, and became the project manager for that as we were heading towards CP. So we took 10 sites and we had to migrate all of the content from those 10 sites to a new single site, which was created for us. Obviously, we were working hand in hand with the developers to do that. We had to transform all of our processes, create new processes, set up a website help desk, recruit a new team, and at the end of it, launch a single website. And how did we do it? I often wonder. We did use a tool to help us. So, we did a lot of getting in rooms and workshopping it and having stickies and creating lots of plans. But we actually used Asana to deliver the single site ultimately. We used Trello, I think, for phase one.
Yeah,
and we learned all right at the beginning for our MVP, and it worked fine. But it was frustrating that a lot of the features that we really needed to kind of keep on track of reporting and to understand kind of where we were working in an agile 2-week sprint iteration process. And we kind of learned what we didn't know really in phase one. And then we tried to in phase two, which is the most complicated bit really, which is where we were taking, 9 councils' content and moving that. Phase one was just one website really. Phase two was the most complex part. And, we had a defined time to kind of deliver it by, and it was pretty stressful. I'm not going to lie about that. It was stressful, like most projects are, but it was also hugely enjoyable. So we had at any point, I think, up to about 30 people in the project team, a mixture of contractors, a mixture of permanent in-house staff, and then a few freelancers sort of towards the end. So kind of keeping your hands over all of that and actually understanding what was going on at any one time and where might have been a crisis kicking off and kind of stepping into that. So really, Asana, and it could be any tool, but we had kind of set up all of our projects in Asana, and we were able to track and understand exactly what was going on and how far off delivery we were for any particular part of the project. And that allowed us to kind of flex and move things around. And I think, there were lots of things that went right, and there were quite a lot of things that didn't go so well. And I think having that tool in place really allowed us to kind of see and understand what was going on and then adjust, which is what you do in projects, and particularly agile projects.
When people hear us talking about websites, a traditional website that I tend to look at has a handful of pages. Can we share here that, just to give people context, we're talking about something like 80,000 pages or items of content that we were talking about doing the migration?
Yeah. So 80,000 pages, include documents, PDFs, etc., imagery. So a huge amount of content, and kind of wading your way through that and understanding what needed to be transitioned, what needed to be updated, what needed to be kind of left where it was, but potentially, brought back down the line, and negotiating that as well with stakeholders, which was always a challenge. But actually, that period, that council transition period. The second phase lasted, I think it was 9 months. And yeah, about 9 months, and we did deliver on time, but it was, there was a lot of pushing it over the line and massaging it over the line, but we did deliver it on time. That's the thing I'm really proud of, that we managed it. It was a
beast
endeavor.
It was
a beast.
Now it's been over a year, or nearly a year, hasn't it, that it's gone live?
Yes. I just realised we missed our first anniversary and we didn't celebrate with cake, which is really, really wrong. But we've got a team meeting next week, so I may have to bake a cake to
it just means
celebrate that milestone. Yeah. So it was a massive milestone, but we're here and we're in continuous improvement now.
Continuous improvement, another one of these buzzwords that if you do it well, it's got a big impact, but not for today's topic. A year later then, what have you seen as positive impacts, either for your end users or for the team?
For the audience, I think it's about less complexity. So for people who are looking for funding from one of our research councils, they've just got one place to go now and look for that information, and obviously all of the other content that we've got on the site about research and innovation. And I don't think you can, I think when you're working in an organisation, you don't really see the impact that something like this has on the user. And we've got obviously, user research that evidences that they wanted a single website, but actually, the evidence that we're seeing is that and the performance of the site has been great. And I think both for external users and internal users, I think the fact that we've been able to improve processes, introduce consistent formats, consistent templates, so that the audience is getting, the quality that they're seeing is much higher, and you're not seeing content that shouldn't be on that channel, but that it's the right content for the right channel. And that's not to say that we can't improve. As I've said, continuous improvement is always there. But I think that's a massive benefit for the audience, and that's really who we serve. It's the audience.
And positive impacts internally?
Hugely positive impacts internally. Again, ease of operational use. So publishing on 10 separate websites was operationally very challenging. And now we have simplified lots of those kind of processes around that. I think it's just easier for the organisation to manage those operational needs when they're developing content, etc. So yeah, it's been a hugely successful project.
Fantastic. Any advice for other people out there, either about to or not yet ready to embark on their own digital roller coaster? Because that's what it is.
It's all about the planning, and you cannot invest enough time in planning. Is my advice. The more you think about it, the more you get in rooms, talk to people, workshop it before you actually write your plan. However you're going to write your plan, that might be words on a page, it might be a Gantt chart at its very basic level of when you're going to deliver, but plan and plan and plan again. And there is nothing wrong with the replan. And during those 3 years, it felt like at times we were replanning every other week, but you have to replan based on what is happening. If you're working in an agile project, you have to listen. So listen to your stakeholders, listen to your team, and understand their feedback. And that then gets reflected in an iterated plan, which means that you will improve the end result ultimately.
Okay, thank you. And last one, what's your favorite hack or pro tip that you wish you'd known maybe 3 years ago? Or
I've been doing this for a while, but this is one I was doing a training session with some team members on personal productivity, and it's kind of become my favorite one, really, is that we all use so many tools. We have such busy lives, our calendars are full. This is my 6th or 7th meeting today. How do you get work done? And I think it's really about, calendar blocking. And so one of the techniques I use alongside our planning tool is I look at what tasks I've got to do this week or next week or whatever, and I start to block out time. So I've been doing quite a big project over the last couple of weeks, and I've made sure that I've got 2 hours at the end of every day where I can really focus in sort of quieter time to get the thing done. If you don't block out your diary, you will get overwhelmed with meeting requests or, people who want to speak to you about something really important that's not really important. So giving yourself time to actually deliver, it's really important. And, it is quite difficult often because, I think particularly since COVID and working in a more hybrid way, people are spending more and more time on Zoom or on video conferencing. And I just think it's harder to get work done. So that's my top tip, really, since COVID, really. But you've got to invest the time and block it out in your diary.
Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of tools now that offer to do that for people as well, of adding in focus time or scheduling, auto scheduling. I love my calendar. I live on my calendar, but I've never found one that can do it automatically for me, I suppose. So I still do it manually myself, and I find myself doing the same thing, even if I have to move those slots again afterwards. But
yeah,
those out as well. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
You're welcome. Really enjoy it.